What is an infobox? An infobox is a box that you have in every article, in nearly every article in Catalan Wikipedia, that shows the most important statements of a thing. This is an infobox about Aberystwyth in Wales, for example. And there are kinds of different infoboxes. Most of the people, I suppose, you know what is an infobox. There are infoboxes in nearly every Wikipedia. So I will explain a little bit of where I come from. Catalan Wikipedia. Catalan Wikipedia has 650,000 articles. It has 24 million editions. It has 1,300 active users, and it has 22 admins. This is not a very important Wikipedia, but we have some large articles, and we have I think we are in the 20 most important for the number of articles Wikipedia editions. I'll show you what is the importance of Wikipedia articles in infoboxes in our Wikipedia. I made this more or less the same presentation in 2018, and the articles with infoboxes were nearly 79%, and now I've counted again, and they are about 82%, which is great. The most used infoboxes are infoboxes for people, for political geography, for text, for buildings, physical geography, organization, and there are a lot more, up to 80 more infoboxes. And this is the comparison with other Wikipedias. We are the fourth project with more connections to Wikidata after Commons, Ukrainian, and the Masre Wikipedia. Okay. We had a lot of infoboxes at the beginning of this project, more than 400, and we had a lot of different colors and different designs. So we choose 8 different colors for different topics, and every infobox had an icon representative of the type of data it should have. For example, this is for taxon, this is for human beings, for geography, this is for places, this is for artworks, and this is for computer programs. So there is a standardized unification of formats. Which is the technology that we use to make these infoboxes? I think this is the most important part of the presentation, because this is how the magic is done. We had like 2 modules, a module called Infobox and a module called Wikidata. And the module called Wikidata in the beginning was the same as the module Wikidata in most Wikipedias, but in some point it was forked because it had some different uses, and we forked from the module Wikidata in every Wikipedia, and we have now our own. It's not only a Catalan module, but it's also in 16 more languages. For example, it's also in Galician language or in Arabic. So we have a module called Wikidata, which is written in Lua, and the module called Infobox, which is also written in Lua. The second one, the Infobox module, is nearly the same as we have in nearly every Wikipedia. But the first one, I think it's the thing that makes the project different. So we are very happy to see that our module Wikidata is still being used in 16 different Wikipedias. Most of them are very small, so it must be useful to them. And then we have a template Infobox, which is made with Wiki syntax. Okay. Apart from these three pieces, we also have lots of different Infoboxes. I say up to 80 different Infoboxes. Okay. But this is the core, the main part of our technology. The project started in December 2014. We saw that there was too much Infoboxes, and we wanted to use Wikidata to get information from Wikidata and to fill the Infoboxes. We have like 10 users involved, and we have deprecated more than 300 Infoboxes. For example, we had an Infobox for football players, an Infobox for kings, an Infobox for saints, an Infobox for religious people, and now we have only one Infobox for all kinds of biographies. For example, it's very useful if you have a king which is at the same time a football player or religious or whatever. We have a massive importation of parameters with a single Infobox, and I think the most important point is that we make an extensive use of these Infoboxes. As I said before, like 82% of the Wikipedia Catalan Wikipedia articles have an Infobox. So I think it's very important to be that this is that way, because more Wikidata-powered Infoboxes means that we have more info in Wikidata. If there is a lot of information in Wikidata, you can see more things displayed in your Infobox. And if you want to begin with the project, I recommend you beginning with Infoboxes that are most used. For example, in Infoboxes for people, for places, or for buildings. That are the kind of Infoboxes I would implement the first. And some of the Infoboxes are very, very complex. I'll show you next, because there is not only a single translation of statements from Wikidata to Wikipedias, but sometimes we generate more information. For example, if we have a taxobox, taxonomic Infobox, from the genera, the information about the taxon, we can get the information about the phylogenetic tree. We can have for example, the genera, the order, the family, the kingdom, etc., etc. How is it done? This is an example of wiki syntax for the musician Pau Casals. Before, the information was all put in the article code. We had to put the parameters directly into the Infobox, and after we only put the name of the template. This would be so easy to do. It would be Infotabula persona means biography Infobox. So before it was the information all have to be put manually in the article, and then you don't have to put any information, of course, if you have the information in Wikidata. If not, there's a work to do. This is a very simplified thing, but at what cost we have to do it? Before, the Infoboxes were simplified in this way. It was the name of the Infobox, the title, the image, and the caption, or the image, and there was every field had a label and a data field. Before it was this way, you put the label and then the data field, and after the things are getting more complicated because you have to say where to get this kind of information. For example, the type of the number, you have to import it from the property P31, which is in this case is instance of. But you also can put it in the oldest fashion. You can put it the old way. You can put type and put the other. So inserting the template, it's much easier, but creating the template, it's a little bit complicated. But I think it is worth it because lots of people write articles and not a lot of people creates templates. You can see an example here how it works. For example, this is number 63, and here you have instance of, and you have natural number, odd number, centered octahedral number, 22 ordinal number, and composite number. So in the instance of, you have this kind of data. The import goes this way. You get the information from this property, P31, which is instance of, and you get the information displayed in the typus type parameter of the Infobox. Okay, you can click here. You can see this is the Wikidata item, and this is the article in Catalan Wikipedia. What properties do we import? We import a lot of properties. For example, this is the Infobox for taxa, and we import a lot of properties. For example, ploidy, genome size, immune type, mushroom cap shape, or basionym, or this kind of fields. For example, in the Borneo orangutan, there are not all these fields, but we only import the fields that are informed in Wikidata. But if there are these kind of fields, we can import them. So there are a lot of them, as you can see here, for the taxa box. Here we have like more samples. We have a mineral, which is the diamond. This is only Wikidata imported, only with Wikidata data. And this is the Korean. This is the language, which it's Infobox language, as you can see by the icon. And this is Infobox mineral, as you can see by the icon. You have more samples here. If you want to click, you can go there. And we have some more samples. What about the pros and cons? The pros are these kind of Infoboxes are easy to add, very easy, as you have seen. They help you standardize articles. You take advantage of Wikidata. There is a lot of information on Wikidata, and you can take advantage. If you are a small wiki, you will never have as much information in local as there is in Wikidata, and it really helps improve Wikidata. This is very important. If you use this kind of information, if you see an Infobox which is nearly empty, the next thing you do is to get to Wikidata item and improve it. So this is a very good way to display the information you have in Wikidata, or the lack of information you have in Wikidata. And what are the cons? The cons is there is some technical work to create them, but it's not very difficult. I can help you with that, and that it's very reasonable. There are some parameters which are not handled by Wikidata. There are some parameters which are not still converted to Wikidata properties, and there is some tweaking required for languages that have plural, capital letters, feminine forms, and so on. But I think it is worth it. If you are in a small Wikipedia, it is really, 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 really worth it. Which are the next steps? Next steps. I know there is some problems implementing this kind of infoboxes in English Wikipedia. I don't know much about it, but somebody can ask or explain something in the Q&A we have later. There's an idea to have more Wikidata-powered templates in Catalan Wikipedia. For example, we have Infobox for airports that it's not still Wikidata-powered. And also at the same time, to have less Wikidata-powered templates, because we have, for example, a template for albums, a template for songs, and a template for musical compositions. So we could merge all them three in one, but there's still work to do. And there is the idea of getting cross-wiki infoboxes, like global infoboxes. I will talk to you later. If you are interested, you can click here, and that's it. So what are we doing now in Catalan Wikipedia to improve these Wikidata-powered infoboxes? We are trying to have the same code in every wiki. We have trying to make the translations in. We are making this. We are making these infoboxes global to be used in every wiki, and the translations to be in Wikidata. So there is a standard, and the improvements could be synchronized everywhere. If you are interested in this project, which is made by Amador in Catalan Wikipedia and Jotamark, you can click here for info, click here for samples, and click here for help. To finish, I want to explain some related projects with that one that seems to me that they are very important. First one is Wikidata Bridge, which is a way to edit Wikidata from the Wikipedias. Our infoboxes are prepared for that. Second one is the small wiki toolkits. We had a talk, very interesting talk yesterday, which they must have a set of infoboxes to help small wikis to create their infoboxes. There's a link in here. And the third one is the other project I told you about, global templates, to share some templates cross wiki in every Wikipedia. And thanks to all these users, most of all to user Verulloc, who is a Catalan Wikimedian, who has done the module Wikidatas, and who is the reason we can make this kind of infoboxes. So that's it. Hi, Rebecca. I cannot hear you, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca. I'm afraid we're having some problems with your audio at the moment. So while you take a look at that.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. I think I hit mute on my earphones accidentally earlier when I took them off. Apologies. Thank you so much, Pau. That was really interesting. That was my cat, Hamilton. He was obviously interested in asking a question, but he hasn't posed it yet. So I think there's a lot of people working on a variety of language Wikipedias that are really interested in the power of Wikidata. And you have, I suppose, mentioned that there are some language Wikipedias that are a little bit resistant. And I think a lot of that is, I think some of that comes from a certain skepticism, perhaps, of Wikidata, and also, concerns about how and when data on Wikidata is updated or changed. And I think vandalism tends to be kind of a concern for some of maybe perhaps the larger Wikipedias.
I think it must be a concern for the larger Wikipedias because they have the people to update the articles and so. But for small Wikipedias, which I think is the scope of this conference, I think it's a very wise way to put the efforts in the right place and skip some of the things that other people have done.
So we have a few questions coming through, and I have one or two of my own, but there's one particularly from a Basque Wikipedian talking about whether or not in the future there are any plans for a what you see is what you get kind of editor of Infoboxes. So I suppose like a visual editor for Wikidata Infoboxes.
Yeah, if you're referring to in the articles to edit
or to create the Infoboxes in the first place. Yeah.
To create the Infoboxes, maybe not. I don't know about it, but to edit Infoboxes in articles, there's the Wikidata bridge, which is a very good a project that I think will be live properly in I don't know when, but it will be tested in Catalan Wikipedia. So it will be a good way to update with the GUI update the Infoboxes directly with information from Wikidata.
Great. There's also, it's come up, and I think some of these questions are quite, nuanced or specific or technical, but Amir has asked about the idea of perhaps global templates so that they aren't language specific. What would your thoughts be on that?
Yeah, we are working on global templates, and there's a project I pointed to, but we are working on global Infoboxes that you can use in every language version. The problem is the technology must be more far complicated. It's you have to work more to produce kind of Infoboxes that could you could deploy everywhere. But I think it's the way. The idea of having global templates, it's a very, very, very good idea. As we had the idea of having global users, it was a very strange idea, but it has simplified everything. And now we have to have global templates, at least some of them, the most important.
So there's this particular question has come through, I think, on two channels, which is, and I've pointed it to the private chat as well, just in case I mangle it. But it's like, can you elaborate on why it is necessary to fork out the module : Wikidata's, and what does the module do differently from module : Wikidata?
I'm not a specialist. I did not do the module. As I said, it's Vicens in Catalan Wikipedia who takes care of the module and has some knowledge of Lua. But I think in some moment you couldn't. It wasn't not very easy to use the same name to have different functions. So they have different functions, different functionalities, and in some moment it had to be forked. But I'm not very well informed about that.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm keeping an eye. Some of the questions are, as I said, quite specific, so I won't bring them to this. But I had kind of, I suppose, from the point of view of maybe a language Wikipedia that hasn't made the leap, and perhaps for them, the concern really is, I suppose, labor, the labor cost, and with the potential of labor saving down the way.
Yeah.
Has there been any kind of quantifying how much, so there's obviously there's upfront work creating the templates and perhaps, the idea of deciding what templates you're going to have and things like that. But what would you say, I mean, how much labor do you think, kind of, I suppose, anecdotally, do you think it saved the community?
The idea was for before the COVID-19, the idea was to make a hands-on workshop, so we could help people attending the Limerick meeting, and we could do that. But now it's more difficult. But I have done so with, for example, with Irish Wikipedia. I've done so. We have made with 3 people. We have translated maybe like 10 or 20 templates. We need to implement it, and maybe we made it with 2 hours, or it's not very difficult. So 2 hours of work, and you get a lot of work done, and there is a lot of work that it's automatically used in the articles.
Just a few, I suppose, questions and comments coming through, and to say from the Irish perspective, and I think having heard Kevin's keynote earlier, where he talked about how much translation now exists for, because that's a large concern, I think, for small language Wikipedias, is to not have, whether it's English or the more dominant language, then to be kind of shoehorned in, to have a language creep on there. So I think sometimes the big hump of translation work is actually getting all the labels translated on Wikidata as well. So there's there is a workflow, I suppose, to but
we are working on a version that the translations are not made in Wikipedia, but they use the labels in Wikidata. So you are able to reuse a work that is already done in Wikidata.
Very good, very good. There's quite I think, an important comment coming through from the English language element of this, the Wikidata elephant in the room.
I know.
Just saying that if you are creating articles and creating content, that perhaps if you place a lot of the conflict that happens perhaps on if you go into other people's articles, to put it that way, and insert a Wikidata info box, sometimes there's a bit of resistance. But if you are creating articles, then perhaps you could, you could utilize Wikidata info boxes within the content that you are creating, and then you don't get that kind of resistance, because there are elements of English language Wikipedia that don't even like info boxes, let alone Wikidata.
I know about that, but I repeat, this is maybe we have a small Wikipedia, not a very small one, but a small Wikipedia, Catalan Wikipedia, and we don't have the luxury to reject Wikidata work. We need a lot of work. We need all the users we can have, and we don't have this kind of luxury to reject some. We can instead we can improve the wellness of the Wikidata articles. So Wikidata items. So I think for the smaller Wikipedias than us, which are the majority, I think it's a good way to improve them. They don't have anything. There's the differences between night and day.
I think that's a really good point to raise, is that quite often the larger language Wikipedias, we kind of obsess a little bit about whether or not they're taking up these tools. It's like, but while they feel quite big and dominant, they are not the majority of Wikipedias.
Yeah.
You know, there are 295 or whatever other languages.
But if the larger Wikipedias reject this kind of information, maybe Wikidata information will always be outdated and will be incorrect. So if we use it, we have to improve it. So it's a way to really improve it, the information that in Wikidata, to give them visibility.
And also, as you say, freeing up Wikipedians in those language Wikipedias to then put their resources elsewhere. If they're not having to go around, you know, having to update manually all of these things, then it, you know, it allows for other dynamic work to happen.
And now we have a problem. We have been migrating from manual Infoboxes to automatic, from Wikidata-powered, and we have a lot of deprecated information in our manual Infoboxes. It's not only to put the information, but to update it, and we don't have enough hands to update the information. So in case you have, you can put the information manually. Later, it quickly gets deprecated.
Have you noticed that now that you've employed Infoboxes, the Wikidata Infoboxes on Catalan, have you noticed that other tasks are or more article creation? Have you noticed that kind of labor shift? Yeah,
I don't know, because it would be very. I would be very happy to say that yes, but it's not. It doesn't work that way, because Wikipedia work, it's infinite, and everything grows exponentially. So you don't know where to put your resources and your work. So I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, it's also very difficult to quantify, especially it's kind of, I suppose there are outputs, but
it depends. It depends on the number of editors, and when I gather the information about our Wikipedia, I've seen we have less active editors. So this is much more important than other things, I think.
Yeah. It's all about where you put these things. So just to remind people that there still is discussion going on in the Etherpad, and that will continue. And so Mir in particular has some quite specific questions that I think Nicholas was saying you guys have to have a cup of coffee so that you can talk about these things properly. So if you have any highly specific questions for the presentation, pop them there. But there is also the help desk, and I think now if people have, you know, very, I suppose, niche or specific to their language questions, it's probably the place for them to go. So please utilize the help desk. There's a number of Wikidaticians that are giving over their time. You may not get the answer straight away, but they will try and get back to you within a number of hours. And
they have my user. They can write me on my talk page. That's not a problem.
Exactly. So I think that's, we've covered most of the I suppose the presentation friendly questions. So we might wrap up now. Thank you so much, Pau. We really appreciate your time and expertise, and how clear you set out the project. Is there any kind of concluding remarks that you'd like to make before we finish up?
Thank you all for attending, and thanks to the organization. Thanks.
And hopefully next year, or next Celtic.
I would like to go to Limerick.
Hopefully, at some point in the future, we will all manage to meet in real life, IRL, in Limerick, and you'll all get to marvel in its beauty, and we'll get to knowledge share peer to peer. So on that note, what we'll do the same thing as we did before. We're going to put up the slide and let the chat conclude. We'll give 2 minutes. So if there's any kind of outstanding questions, please answer them. Or if you want to quickly copy and paste them out and pop them in the Etherpad, or perhaps in the Telegram discussion, so that it doesn't, if there's something in particular, some links, that kind of thing you want to share further, please do copy and paste them across. Thank you again, Paul. I really appreciate your time, and it's always wonderful to catch up with you. Fingers crossed, perhaps in the Wikipage might be able to benefit from these wonderful info boxes very soon. Yes, IRL as in Ireland and IRL as in real life, definitely. Thank you, Kate. But thank you again, and hopefully we'll see you again very soon, Paul. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Slán, lads.